In part 4 of the Living with Leviathan, and particularly the appendice that I wrote on Leviathan for my book, I closed with this last section, and I'm reading directly from the appendice, not the presentation, so there is some gaps between what I've posted in the presentation and what I'm reading. Now I'm reading about Leviathan, of course, and I'm going to pick up where I left off before. Collinsworth gives much attention to the conventional family as a component of civility or civilization. From a book review by George S. Crockett on Amazon, the following on this chapter and section. Now this is Crockett writing on the book by Collinsworth. In the case of a family, the agent in this process, civilizing the community, is the parental society, and the name of the process is education. So we have education, and who is going to provide this education? Well, it's certainly possible that institutions can provide that education, or parents can also provide that education for their children. He writes, once the education leaves the family, at least in part, the job is in jeopardy. To take the education of children out of their parents' hands and put it in the hands of the king, or what we call today the state, demonstrates a charming loyalty to the king and trust in his omnipotence. But it is taking away a job from those who can do it and handing it over to those who cannot. This dodge for the avoidance of responsibility is very common today and is becoming commoner. I shall call it passing the baby. Now, these are the words of Crockett in regard to Collinsworth, his work. Further on this text, on the subject of barbarism, Crockett comments on Collinsworth's description of partisans of civilization. He writes, these partisans do not come from weak families, they come from families such as are described in an earlier chapter, two-parent families who educate their children at home, whether or not they send the children to state schools. So what we're talking about here is a conventional family working cooperatively, not against each other, not in opposition, and certainly not divorced from one another, but rather working cooperatively as caring parents. He goes on to write that these parents must care more about their children than they do about their own, let's just say what pleases them individually necessarily. So they must be sacrificial. Secondly, they must be, as I emphasized before, caring in the sense of what is best for the children. And I just close by saying that I do appreciate you listening. I hope to have more information in the weeks and months to come to share with you regarding living with Leviathan.